The hardest step is very often the first step. And I need you to remember that, because the friction associated with starting a new journey or pursuit or expedition is very rarely the journey itself. It's in finding the courage to go, walking up to that door and putting one leg through it. Recently, walked into the gym. It was just one of those mornings, early, not quite awake yet. Body didn't really feel energized. I mean, we've all been there. Imagine waking up 5:30 and just not feeling on top of your game, right? Long night, mind was cluttered, energy low. But I showed up anyway. Walked over to the squat rack, loaded a modest amount of weight, and I just kind of stood there, staring at the bar like it had something to say. Now, this didn't really have anything to do with the weight of the bar. Right? The weight didn't feel heavy. I did, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Maybe it was the result of compounded energy and work. Maybe it was my struggles outside of the gym bleeding into what I was doing. Who knows? But suddenly standing there, it hit me. Right? Sometimes the hardest part of the lift isn't the bar on your back. It's the stories in your head. It's the voices that say, you don't need to be here. Today's not your day. Why bother? Or the worst of the worst, mumbling underneath it all, hey, you're not who you used to be. And they're convincing. Those voices, they know your doubts and they know them by name. They show up right at the door before you even start. But I've learned something. Funny enough, I've learned it again and again at a million different times in a million different contexts. You don't always need a win. Sometimes you just need a rep. You just need one crack in the dam and the momentum starts to flow. It's in going. So I stepped under the bar, took a breath, dropped into that squat like it was me versus every excuse I'd ever made in that simple act, that one rep. By default, it turned everything around. Like a wheel moving downhill. I just had to bring it to the top and put it in position to go, right? This wasn't about strength, it was about reclaiming control. Starting is what gave me power back. There's a myth to readiness, and I truly believe that. We wait for ready. We wait for perfect timing. But what if starting, funny enough, is the only thing that makes you ready? What if motion is what clears the fog? Too many people never change their lives because too many people think change has to start big. Real change is microscopic. It starts in quiet increments. When you walk through that door at the gym and step up to the rack. When you drive to the track in the morning. When you make the call. When you say the truth out loud. When you finally decide enough is enough. It's never the weight of the task that breaks you. It's the belief that you need to be more before you begin. Simple truth. You don't. You don't need a better plan. You don't need more motivation. You certainly don't need the stars to align. You need a decision. I'll never forget a friend talking to me about the etymology of that word, decision, decide, to cut away from. When you say yes to going, you are saying no to the excuses, to the old stories, to every reason you couldn't, to who you used to be. It's about that moment where you say, I'm going to do this. Tired, unsure, imperfect, who cares, but I am doing it. That's the first domino. It's what shifts identity, not results, but action in the absence of them. My take is that every dream has a door. People just forget the handles on your side of it. No one's gonna open it up for you. No one's going to walk through for you. Like a friend of mine said, no matter how hard you try, no one can do your push-ups for you. This is a you thing. A you versus you thing. But once you begin, you'll realize the room wasn't as scary as it seemed from the outside. And more importantly, perhaps most importantly, you'll realize you belong there the whole time. So next time you're frozen at the door, before the rep, before the run, before the speech, before the leap, please remember this. The weight isn't the problem. The voice in your head is. And the only way to silence that voice is to move. It's in going, it's in motion, it's in stepping into the abyss, the unknown, the chaos, trusting yourself to navigate. So don't stand and contemplate, start. Because that first step, that quiet, uncelebrated, defiant first step, that's what transforms you. Let's start things off with a little refresher. Let's call it the 10-year anniversary of the most important realization of my life. To set the scene, I was living in Boston at the time, and every single day before work, I'd run. That was my jam. It was my me time. 5 a.m. alarm, running shoes on, I'd hit the pavement. I would do my beautiful loop around the Charles River, Esplanade. Rain, snow, sun, wind, I'm there, right? In a sense, I looked forward to it. And then something happened. One winter morning, seemingly just like every other, I got ready, put on the running shoes, walked up to the front door, opened it, and looked out. And what peered back at me, well, it was anything but inviting. We had dark gray skies, temps in the low to mid 30s, and a slushy rain pouring down. If you're from the New England area, you've seen it before, you get it. Gross, right? Not fun stuff. As if the universe was laughing and simultaneously giving me the middle finger. I stood there in the doorway, looking out for a few. My first thought, as they say in Boston, nah, no thanks, kid. It's just a bit much, right? Unnecessary. And here's the thing, it would warm up later. This doesn't have to be some big project. I could just run when I get home. Or option two, my work at the time had a pretty nice gym. I could just hit the treadmill at lunch. Sounds way more practical. But after a few minutes of standing in that doorway, I turned around, went back inside, and almost like I was on autopilot, went right to my bedroom, grabbed my running gloves, a beanie, a windbreaker. I did have the gear for this after all. And for no good reason, decided to head into the storm. It's a funny thing that our memories tend to rewrite history, transforming, mundane moments into situations where we rose to heroism and saved the princess. But not this time. This was way more anticlimactic. Wasn't courage. To be honest, I don't even know why I did it. And I definitely didn't think a single soul besides me would ever hear about it or know about it. I didn't think any of it mattered at all. I just went. And as you can imagine, it was cold at first. Very cold. Wet. Uncomfortable. But anyone who runs knows the deal. Especially if you're wearing running gloves and the extremities are covered. It's just not that big of a deal. You warm up. And after 15 minutes or so, I started thinking, you know what? This is actually nice. Like, really nice. And not only that, I had the Charles River entirely to myself. No runners, no bikers, just me piercing that foggy gray veil that seemed to cover the entire city. 15 minutes turned to 30. 30 turned to 60. 60 turned to walking in the front door of my home. You're probably wondering, okay, is this finally where something exciting happens? Nope, it's not. I walked into zero applause, no awards, no trophies. If anything on earth could be called anticlimactic, it would be this moment. At least externally. Because on the inside, something changed. It's a feeling that to this day, I still have a hard time describing. Like a mix of, excitement and pride in the pit of my stomach. Not because I had performed some larger-than-life task. Not because I survived insurmountable odds. But because, for a while, that run kind of sucked. And the fact that it kind of sucked was enough to keep practically the entire city inside. That little veil of discomfort resulted in a lot of people looking out of windows and saying, you know what, not today. Not because of immense pain. Not because it required a 300-mile trek through the Arctic. No, just because of discomfort. That was the moment I first asked that question. Was it really just a run in the rain? Or was it much, much more? Was it the key to something truly extraordinary? Perhaps the differentiator between a life of getting by and a life lived on one's own terms. I'm going to fast forward a few months. Because that place of work, the one that I would head to immediately after my daily run concluded, I finally found the courage to walk away from that place. I remember it feeling a lot scarier than it probably should have. But as the saying goes, hindsight is 20/20. Maybe the, let's call it turmoil, existed because it wasn't just a job. I had attached my identity to it. It symbolized late night studying and working hard and doing the things that I thought were the right things. It was the only hill I'd ever truly climbed. And so, it's probably not that stepping away hurt because I loved training property casualty underwriters on our fancy systems. It hurt because without it, I had no clue who the hell I was. Anyone who's been in that spot understands. It's hard to attach logic to the anxiety associated with not having an answer when people ask, hey, what do you do? And look, that's not a cool thing to admit. I'm not proud of it, but that's just reality. It hurt. What all this did, though, was leave an opening. We're going to write music now, write speeches, tell stories, make movies, produce on YouTube. Let's go. And let me tell you, it was amazing. Until it wasn't. Until I was a man in his mid-20s, eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch, making videos for free, while the buddies in the group chat were talking about career advancement, promotions, and job titles. Pain, just of a different variety. Oh yeah, and then I started running out of money. Better pack up my stuff. Train leaves in 5 minutes. Headed one layer deeper into Dante's Inferno. Just brutal. And eventually, all of it got to me. Eventually, enough felt like enough. Forget this, I'd say to myself. Let's go back. Let's just go back. How nice was the paycheck? Maybe I just got needy because I was so secure. Maybe things weren't so bad. Maybe they weren't so bad at all. But wait. Eddie, wait. The doorway. You're standing in that doorway from a few months back. Running shoes on, looking out at the frozen rain. Dude, this is not life coming down on you. This is decision time. This is an inflection point. This is when most of the world says, no thank you, I'll run at lunch. This is when most of the world says, the unpredictability is too much, before they gravitate towards stability like moths to a flame. Maybe this was my chance to not be like the rest of the world. Maybe this would be the separation I'd been craving. Yes. Okay, so here's what you're gonna do. You're going to, for once, put your back against that wall, and you're going to trust that if you fall flat on your face, that you'll be strong enough to get back up. Can you do that? Yeah, I think I can. Good. A new chapter begins. Oh, and start eating healthier. Every bite of Cinnamon Toast Crunch is taking 3 years off your life. Deal? We're off. And I won't go more granular than that. Right? There were highs, there were lows, there were ups, there were downs, because of course there were. But that single decision, deciding to step beyond that doorway, where discomfort separated normalcy from a world of infinite upside, that moment changed everything. And here's the secret. This wasn't one and done. I found myself there time and time again. First keynote speech, sweating profusely, fantasizing about a reason to leave. Heart rate probably 170. I put myself back in that doorway. And that simple, seemingly trivial exercise made everything clear. It had a way of shining a spotlight on what truly mattered. It was never the haze or the rain or the fog of discomfort. Clock ticked forward, packing up and relocating from one place to another a few times. They were decisions I made in that doorway. Cutting ties with people who weren't elevating me or making my life better. Put me in that doorway. And now, the decision to say no to some pretty lucrative opportunities in order to get back to making the media that I love and creating impact. You bet I put myself in that metaphorical doorway. Oh, and the best part, don't think you get to escape this. Because we both know there is some aspect or element of your life where you're standing there, where you're looking out at the world, talking yourself out of what could ultimately change your life, because for a few brief moments it wouldn't feel good. There are places in your day-to-day where you're giving up the prospect of reaching that mountaintop because a stint in the valley of despair seems too daunting. Well, here's your reminder. That if you want to live a life that matters to you, a life of significance, substance, and depth, put those running shoes on, that beanie and that windbreaker, pierce the veil of darkness that surrounds you, seeking to intimidate and persuade you to remain dormant. No, run right into it. You'll find the decision to be very lonely for a time, Not because most people couldn't do it with you, but because most people simply won't. Discomfort happens to be the price tag attached. It exists far beyond the carousel they call life. This is your chance to do something different, to be someone different. This is not minor detail. Your destiny can't be moved to lunch or postponed to a sunnier day. It demands your vision, your courage, and it demands it now. So 10 years, thousands of miles, millions of people reached, new friends, and a new reflection in the mirror. Is it just a run in the rain? You tell me. When you look at the mountain, it's easy to be overwhelmed by its size, to let fear and doubt paralyze you. But what if I told you the summit is never reached in one heroic leap? It's conquered one quiet step at a time. One subtle movement into the abyss after another. It's not about the impossible. It's about seeing the impossible as what it truly is, shrinking it down, making it small enough to manage. So let's talk about taking the mask off of impossible and revealing what it is, those manageable pieces. And I've learned this truth, not in some grand lecture hall or because of years of school or the pages of a book, but in the echo of my own breath. Doing, creating, building out in the world, right? Growing a business, putting my body through difficult tests, putting my mind through the battlefield that is self-discipline, and essentially commitment to the promises I make to myself. And that's what I want to echo today, how, one, we are capable of way more than we can possibly imagine. So let's just get that out of the way. We're all operating at a fraction of what we could be doing. And two, it's never about the obstacle ahead, the size of what waits before us. It's how we assess and internalize and break down those obstacles. It is doable. Again, your mind just has to perceive it as so. No one leaps a marathon, as much as we wish we could when we're tired and worn down and hurting, but we can't. But what we can do is utilize what's around us in a way that helps us win. We can rig the game in our favor. And so here's a quick example that I wanted to share. I like to put myself in these circumstances because it's truly an exercise in taking these giant things and turning them into very real, practical roadmaps. A few days ago, I did an afternoon bleacher workout in an empty stadium in Phoenix, Arizona. Very simple, right? Sprint up the bleachers and then you walk down, recovering. As soon as you get to the bottom, you turn around, you sprint up again. And the goal was to do 30 of these, right? 30 sprints up, 30 walks back down. And like so many things, it's a cakewalk until it isn't, right? I remember hitting sprint 12 or 13, you start going, oh man, I better recruit the mind to start painting this picture as something fun and beautiful and exciting because the body wants to revolt. Right? You get that sort of mini panic that's like, bro, I don't know how long you can sustain this. It's just reaction, it's real. And at the start, standing there looking up at endless rows, the towering steps, the mind, you can't help but watch it observe it, question, how can I possibly do this? 30 sprints up? That's a lot in this heat. That's a tall order. And on top of that, the hardest part is no one's around, right? I technically don't need to be there. Why not leave? Or why not do 20 instead of 30? What's keeping me committed to such a quote unquote foolish pursuit? That, when I start engaging in suffering, is always the talk that goes on in my head, the negative self-talk, that whispering, again, you're not at gunpoint here, buddy. Walk away. But I think that's the secret of any great feat, right? Whether it's something as trivial as running up steps or, something as grandiose as starting a business, pursuing a degree, starting a family, raising kids, whatever it is, it's never accomplished all at once. It's never one single push, one massive effort. It's the ability to break it down, to divide it, to transform the colossal into manageable pieces. If you understand this, you possess a skill set that makes everything else in life doable. You're holding a key capable of opening any door. And on those stadium steps, I leaned heavily back into the games I used to play with numbers while running so many times in my past. I didn't think about 30 sprints. I thought about the first one, just one. I'd trick my mind into seeing less, into shrinking the impossible. One sprint, one effort. Then I'd reach the top, I'd smile because, well, the next one was the same, just one more. Turn and go. Turn and go. 17. One becomes two. Two becomes 10. The numbers grow, but the method remains. At 13, we're not even thinking about 30. That's crazy. Think about getting to 15. That's only 2 away. 2 sprints away. And then guess what? I'll be halfway. What a celebration. How amazing. What an honor. You're about to hit 15. Focus on that.
We're only 5 away from that. It's all you think about. It's all that occupies your mind. Anyone can do 5 more. 5.
And guys, I want to be clear. I understand the simplicity and seemingly trivial nature of this. I'm emphasizing it because I don't want you to dismiss it thinking, oh, this is just semantics, or oh, this is just how you talk to yourself. It's everything. It's giving yourself permission to win. It's unpacking the grandiose into the manageable. And that's why it's been so effective for me. I've learned to count in 5s, to count in 10s, to create milestones and markers along the way. Each one a small victory, a reason to keep going, which in and of itself is power, right? It's like you create this little validation, you build it into your process so that you're going to bed feeling like a winner, because you are. It's not, oh, I don't have the mountaintop 8 miles away. It's another L for me. No. I took 3 steps today. I pointed out what they would be, I planned them, and I hit them. That's winning. Each one is a reminder that the summit is not some distant place, it's right here, in this moment, in this step. And see, in life, especially when we're going through our most difficult times, it's incredibly easy to get lost in the enormity of it all. The weight of the journey in totality can be paralyzing. That's true in the stadium, but it's just as true in life. We look at our dreams, our ambitions, the vast landscape of what we want to build, and we think, I'm not enough. It's too big, it's too much. I am one person in a very vast world. But let me tell you this. It's never too big when you expose it for what it is. It's never too much when you find the pieces that comprise it. Everything can be broken into small, manageable parts. Everything. After all, that's what they are made of. The tiny building blocks are what come together to create the enormity people see from afar. But you're not fooled. You know you're not climbing the mountain in one step. It's a bunch of micro steps, one then another and then another. In fact, it's not even really a mountain when you're on it. It's an assortment of little rocks. And I think about the times I've faced obstacles in my life. Projects that seemed too big or overwhelming, relationships that felt too complicated to fix, dreams that felt too fragile to pursue. The lesson of the bleachers, right? The lesson of one sprint at a time carried me through all of it. Building this media company, every single creation, every video, every story, thinking this could be the one. This will connect with people. This will change the trajectory of what I'm doing here. It allowed me to stay focused, one release at a time, one message at a time. Forget the larger than life aspirations. You can only focus on now. Life is the same as that stadium. The outcome is not guaranteed by our intentions alone. It's shaped by our approach, by our willingness to find a path that makes the outcome actually plausible. Not about erasing pain, but about making pain a companion. About turning the discomfort into an ally, part of the process, turning the task into a series of sprints instead of a single marathon. Never forget, anyone can do one sprint, right? And the fun part is 30 is just one 30 times. Anyone can say, do a wall sit for 15 seconds. Well, 2 minutes is just 15 seconds 8 times. Eddie, this is just semantics. Time is time is time. No, it's not. It's how your brain processes and manages what's in front of it. That's what determines whether you win or lose. Again, a lot of people I know have quit things out of frustration with how far away the finish line is. What they failed to realize is they shouldn't even be looking at the finish line. They should be creating benchmarks, hitting those little victories worth celebrating. Because when the time comes and they look back, they'll see a trail of success so pronounced that it'll be mind-blowing. That's how you win. Whether you're climbing stadium steps or building a dream from scratch, you win by shrinking the problem, by making it so small your mind can't find a reason to quit or be intimidated. Take a breath. Look up at that towering set of steps in your life and then begin one step at a time. You're not responsible for anything else besides that step. And as you know, anyone can take one step. So by refusing to sit in awe of the challenge before us, by pulling out its pieces and stacking them so that they become our foundation, well, that's how we win. That's how we defeat the impossible. By refusing to let it stay impossible. The words "I am" are a spotlight used to highlight the parts of you that you want to illuminate. Right? Those two words are a portal through which massive transformation can occur. I am strong, says the man in the mirror, as his newly crafted identity takes him by the hand and leads him to the gym to lift weights. I am talented, competent, relentless, says the woman over coffee before walking into work and moving one step closer to that promotion she's been working for. One of my favorite ideas: people follow through on who they believe themselves to be. Always. But this power is a tool. And tools can be used for good or they can be used for bad. They can be used to build or they can be used to tear down. It's up to the person carrying out the task. The words I am, right, those beautiful life-altering words, they can also become a jail cell that surrounds the now and keeps it exactly as it is. And you know what I mean. I can't. Sorry, I am not a morning person. I am unathletic. I am slow. I am not like those financially well-off people. They're different. I am simply not ready. Well, used that way, right? Those words, they're a sealed fate. Because we only act in ways congruent with how we see ourselves. Again, who we believe ourselves to be. See, a lot of these things come to me, at least initially, in ways I like to describe as woo-woo, right? I'm a pretty practical person. So when someone says something like, Eddie, law of attraction, put pictures all over your bedroom and, it'll come true. What you see, what you look at will materialize. That's scoff, right? Looking at boats, unfortunately, doesn't drop you onto the deck of one. But then, when I let my little ego chill out a bit, and I thought through the idea practically, it's like, well, maybe there's something to this. Maybe looking at those things simply reminds you that they're possible. That boat, that mansion, the love of your life, that dream body, whatever it is, it's not some far-fetched narrative written for someone else. No, that's obtainable. That's for you. Maybe I can have that too. And then maybe those results change the standard. They change the expectations I set for myself. And then, and this is the needle mover, because of that, I start acting in a way congruent with those standards. I bring it to life. Boots on the ground, doing the work, creating the change. It wasn't magic. It was just a shift in narrative. I think we all understand at a deep level, people tend not to acquire things they don't believe are possible to acquire. Right? That's why so much lack in our lives can be remedied by a mindset change. You don't step out your front door if you don't believe there's anything worthwhile out there. Which brings me back to those precious words, I am. And they're precious because they are a permission slip from you to you. To be that person you most want to be, to create the change you most need to see. Being in and around, the personal development space for so long, I've kind of seen a tug of war with the idea of fake it until you make it, right? A lot of people have different takes, different philosophies on it. Some people say, do it, act like it. Why not? Other people say, don't lie to yourself, go earn that confidence. To which I say, they're both the same thing. The idea is not to deceive yourself. I'm going to paraphrase Tony Robbins again here. The idea is not to close your eyes and say, there's no weeds in my garden. There's no weeds in my garden. Open them and hope that the weeds are gone. It's about giving yourself a target to hit. It's about wearing the shoes so that every step you take in them becomes a little more real to you. Let's face it, right? You live with a healthier lifestyle if you say, I'm a healthy person, than if you were to walk around saying, I'm an unhealthy slob, but I'm trying. Right? You will act out who you believe yourself to be. It is that simple. So we rig the game in our favor. Be very methodical with the words you place after I am. They are precious. They are the gatekeepers. I am what? Yeah, but Eddie, I'm not in shape and I want to be. It doesn't make any sense to walk around saying, I am in shape. Okay. How about I am healthy? I am working every day to get stronger. I am the type of person who finds a way. I am driven. I am focused. If you believe yourself to be those things, you've built a foundation more than strong enough to support the goal, to support you getting in shape. That's what this is about. Creating a foundation for you to evolve. The relationship you have with yourself, it sets the precedent for everything in your life. So cherish it. Respect it. See the power contained in the words you utter about yourself. I am on the journey of a lifetime. I am happy. I'm healthy. I'm talented. I'm kind. I am grateful. How about you? The inspiration is not a luxury. What do I mean? Well, I mean, the pragmatic requires imagination, like plants require water, like lungs require oxygen. They need one another. It means if you save or put off or suspend the things that make you feel alive, you'll have an empty cup, unable to pour yourself into the world. There's certainly a theme in this chapter of my life, right? I'm noticing the internal struggle that exists between slowing down and speeding up, right? Enjoying life while simultaneously building one. So how do we make these two seemingly contradictory things exist together? Well, maybe they're not so contradictory at all. Maybe the work is just a manifestation of the inspiration. The building is a direct consequence of the doing. What one puts out into the world is a direct consequence of what one takes in from the world. And so recently I went to Sedona, and this is going to be an incredibly anticlimactic chain of events, except for the fact that I had very little reason to go. It cost me time, it cost me money, pulled me away from my studio. But I felt called to head that way. I needed a change of scenery, I needed something breathtaking, something bigger than my notebook and my patio, as beautiful as they are and as grateful as I am to have them. Perhaps you've been there too, right? That sudden call for new stimuli, to wake up the sleeping giant that is the imagination. And so I went. 2 hours to a landscape so stunning, it's hard to even comprehend, right? Paths through winding pine trees, flowing creeks, singing birds, sunrises illuminating a new world, and sunsets pulling back the curtain on an endless sea of stars. It was quick. Less than 48 hours. But what does that experience become? Well, it becomes, upon my return home, a spotlight on my reason why. Was what I needed at that point in time. Sometimes we do and do and do and forget why we're doing. It was a reminder that life is not a cyclical routine, not a process, but an experience, a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I'll never forget, Wayne Dyer talking about an orange. and how, it doesn't matter how many times you squeeze an orange, grapefruit juice is never going to come out, right? It can only give what lives inside it. You'll only ever get orange juice from an orange. And so, upon recalibrating how I look at and feel about the world, even momentarily, I have more beauty to give. More strength, more inspiration, more power inside to share with the world, more light to pass on. Why? Because of what a seemingly trivial 48-hour experience reminded me. And by the way, this is not a me story, right? This is an everyone story. It doesn't have to be Sedona. It doesn't have to be anywhere, right? Those things that light you up, they matter, and that is the point. The instances of inspiration are just as important, if not more important, than everything else you're doing. Because it's through the inspiration that we come to embrace the best version of ourselves. It's through inspiration that you're able to pour beauty back into your own life, the lives of those around you, and into the world in totality. The inspiration around you is the oxygen necessary to fuel any flame worth burning. And so, yes, it matters. Try it, do it, see it, chase your curiosity, say yes to the spontaneous impulses to dive deeper into life. The inspiration is not a luxury. It's what keeps our hearts beating and our eyes truly open. The inspiration is why we're here.